Hello, 350 Tours. I'd like to give you a sample solution for invoice1, the practice WAD. Let's take a look at that. The first thing you want to do with this is read carefully what you need to do, because this one will require a little bit of planning if you want to get it done efficiently. So you'll see that the task, it says for this WAD you'll create a sales receipt for the sale that contains at least 5 different items with prices of your choosing. You must use expressions and variables to compute the various needed values dynamically. That is, don't hard code the computations. You should be able to change the variable values and the sales receipt will compute the correct value. So it's important to pay attention to that, because you'll see we want to do this example receipt here. So what this means is that the data that we're using for the sales receipt need to be stored in variables and then used to compute things like the extended price, which is going to be the price times the quantity, and then the subtotal, which would be the sum of all these extended prices, and then the tax, which is going to be this tax rate times this subtotal, and then the total will be the sum of these two. You'll notice that this is in an HTML table. It doesn't actually have to look like this. Unfortunately, our website doesn't display borders very well due to some sort of fluke with the markdown language that it uses. But I think you can use just a regular table with borders. That's just fine. There's a couple of hints here that are going to be particularly useful that we're going to want to take advantage of. And then there's a little quality checklist that asks you to look through things like, did you comment your code? Do you have 5 products? Did you not hard code things? So you want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So as usual, you're going to want to start up NetBeans and start a new project. So let's do that. So we want a PHP project, of course. And I'm going to have to put it in the usual place in htdocs, and then we'll just call this invoice1. And we can run the local web server or the PHP built-in web server, doesn't matter. I'm going to use the local PHP's built-in web server so I don't have to start XAMPP. I don't think I have XAMPP running at the moment. It doesn't really matter. And then we can finish. Creates the new project and sets us up. Okay, good. So we're all set up. And then, of course, as usual, we're going to want to move our windows around so that we can test things. So the first thing to do is probably plan this out a little bit, what we want to do. So we need to define a bunch of variables. And then after define the variables for the items, for their quantities, their prices, then we're going to do some computations to like subtotal using the extended price, and then some other computations to calculate the tax, and then another computation to do that. So one of the useful things you can do is to plan this out by starting out with the comments. So you might start with some comments that says things like, product data here. Now, product data, and then after that's going to be things like our item names and the quantities and their prices. And then after we do that, we'll do, you have things like we're going to have to compute extended totals, right? So we have these extended prices here, so we're going to have to compute extended prices. And then I'll make another comment. Let's see, we're going to want to compute the subtotal, then tax, and then total. Now I think I'm going to move things around to make this a little easier to see so I can go back and forth a lot better. I don't have the largest screen here. Having a lot more screen real estate can be very useful. Okay, so let's see, we got that. Compute extended prices. And let's see. Compute subtotal. Compute tax. compute total, and then we want to display invoice. Okay, so by making the comments here first, it'll kind of makes a little outline, just like when you're writing a paper, of what you need to do, and it kind of keeps you on target. So the product data, we're going to define our 5 items. So let's just create a variable called item 1, and I'm just going to use copy and paste it directly from there. Use single quotes, don't forget the semicolon. And I'm going to group for the item, it has a quantity and a price associated with it. So I'm going to group them all together just to make it less difficult to make a mistake. So I'm going to call something else. Let's just call this quantity 1. So item 1 is the name for item 1. Quantity 1 be for the quantity for item 1. You'll see later on this is not the best way to hold our data, but it'll be good enough for this one. And then price 1. And when you store the price, you don't want to store it as a string. You want to store it as a floating point number. So it's a common mistake to try to do something like store 1.23. The problem is if you do it like this, then it won't. You can't do computations with it. You can't like multiply it and add it. It's a string. So what we'll do is just store it as 1.23. Okay, so that's the product data 1. Let's just copy that. Copy this. Right? And I'm going to paste it over here. Oops, we have four more. 1, 2, 3, and there's the last one here, 4. Okay, you know, you don't have to format that now. We can do it later. But so this is now we're going to change to item 2, and item 2 is the Barbasol shaving cream. So I'll just copy that. Good to be lazy here. And its quantity is 1, and we change that to quantity 2, and this is price 2. So you see how we're storing these things. Everything, just the variable name changes based on what item I'm looking at here, and it's $2.64. And now we go to item 3. There, and make that 3, and make that 3, make that 3, and there's one of those, and 6.17. And now we go to rubbing alcohol. Now you can make up your own stuff. You don't. The assignment didn't say you had to use these, but if I use this, I have a built-in sort of test case. I'll get to that in a little bit, but the point is, if I use exactly what I see here, it already calculated the prices and the subtotal. So if I can get it to match this, I know I built the thing correctly. So it's kind of convenient to have that. And price 4 is going to be 0.98988 cents, and then we have now item 5. Our last one. Phew, this is the hardest part of the whole assignment. This is copying and pasting all this stuff over here, or making stuff up. Now you could have just put generic things in here, but again, I have a test case here. If I can make it look like that, then I know I did it right. And then let's see, this is $1.89. Okay. So let's save that, and it's always a good idea not to put too many lines of code in before trying it out. Now, even though nothing is going to be output here, I defined a lot of variables. I'm going to try running this because I don't want, and nothing should come out here. Good, so nothing came out. That's exactly right. And if I view, I could do a view source here if I want to see. It's not exactly nothing. You can see just the HTML came through. That's exactly what I wanted. And you can see that if I left off something, let's say I left off a semicolon there, and I should get an error. Actually, you can see it already has an error here in NetBeans. It's already telling me there's something wrong. This didn't display any errors, which is kind of unusual, but you could turn on error reporting. We'll get to that another time, which would show us that that was a mistake. Okay, put that back. Okay, so I've put all my prices in there, and now I need to compute my extended prices. So the extended prices are just going to be the quantity. Ooh, it says quality here. Whoops. So since that says quality, I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm going to do an edit, and I'm going to find and replace. So I'm going to see find what quality, and I'm going to replace that with quantity there, quantity. And let's just replace all there. That's fixed. All right. So I'll just say extended. I'll define a new variable, extended price. I'll call extended price 1. It's going to be equal to price 1 times dollar quantity 1. And it's always good to use NetBeans to do this. Now in this case, I'm going to copy this like so. I'm just going to copy it here. And I'm going to repeat that 1, 2, 3, 4 more times, because I'm going to have extended price 2, price 2, quantity 2, and go down to 3, 3, 3, and then 4, 4, 4, and then 5, 5, and 5. Okay, good. Let's save that, and let's rerun this and make sure we don't. Okay, good. Nothing there. And we don't see any errors over here either. So you notice that NetBeans will warn you if I make a mistake. See, it has a little warning. It says syntax error, didn't understand, for forgetting something. Okay. Now what am I going to do? Okay, so now it says compute the subtotal. It's always good to test things a little bit to see if things are good by printing out something. So I'm going to do a print extended price 1 just to see what happens there. Make sure that comes out in there, 2.46, and we can check to see if that's right. There it is, $2.46. So that was correct. So it's good to write little test things along the way. Okay, so computing the subtotal. So subtotal is going to be equal to, right, dollar extended price 1 plus, and I'm just going to simply copy this like this. Oops, let's see. Copy and 1, and I'll just change this to 2 like that, then 3 and 4, and now you see I'm getting over to the I've moved over to my side here, so I actually going to turn word wrap on. I have this little word wrap plugin that allows you to wrap it over, and see how it's wrapping like this. It doesn't actually change the line, but when the window is too small, you can see it'll automatically wrap it over so I can see. It's a lot better. And then there's my last one, 5. Don't forget the semicolon. And now I'm going to take this, I'm going to move him over here, and I'm going to print subtotal. sort of test it along the way. Save that, run it. 36.89, let's see if that's right. Yep, 36.89 is the subtotal, so that's correct. Okay, good. See how I have the built-in test case there? That's really helpful. Now computing the tax is easy. We're going to first define tax rate. The tax rate is 5.75, so that's 0.075. And make a little comment, 5.75%. And now the tax is equal to the tax rate times the quantity, the subtotal. Okay, good. And let's tie this out now. So now we're going to print the tax. Whoops. There we go, printing the tax. Doesn't really matter what that is. And 277. Now, of course, you can see it's not rounded, but that's okay. We'll do that later. 2.7665. Tax is 2.12. And so something seems to be wrong here. What did I get? Either 5.75. Oh, it's 5. There we go. See, 0.575. There we go. Okay, good. We had that little test. There we go. 2122. There. Okay, good. All right, now finally computing the total is equal to the subtotal plus tax. Okay, and we'll print that out too. Make sure we got that. Now, I'll show you later on, there's a way that we don't have to use these print statements. We can use the debugger to see what values these are. We'll look at that another time though. Right now, $39.01 and $39.01. Good. Okay, good. So we've got all the calculations and expressions done. Now what we need to do is display our invoice. See how convenient it is to have it all laid out like that? It's a really good idea. Now to display this invoice, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take this advice and say maybe you can just look at this HTML on this page and copy that table. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to view the page source here, and I'm going to find the table. Looks like the table starts here. I'm just going to copy it. There it is. There's the table. I'm going to just copy this whole thing here. Going a little slow. Okay. I'm going to copy that. Now that's all HTML, so that needs to go down here like that. And that's all in there like so. And I'm going to try it out. So I'm going to do that there, and now I'm going to refresh, and there. I've got my thing. Now you can see that the borders aren't showing up because the color here is white. So we're just going to make that black. Save that, refresh, there we go. Now we can see where everything is. Very nice. Okay, beautiful. Well, now what we need to do is start replacing all these things with the computations that we have. So this is all set. These are all set. The format's all set. I just need to put the variables in the place here. So let's see how to do that. Okay, so probably the good way to do that is we're going to start here with line 1, right? How would we print that line 1? So we just go look where that's printing. So we already have item quantity, that's the header, and here is Gillette sensor 1. And so all we need to do here is replace that. Now we've closed PHP. We're just in HTML, so we have to open it up again. And all I need to do is just print $item 1. There we go. Let's save that and let's run it. And you can see it's still saying that. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these. All these lines are all the same. They're going to look all the same except for the variables are different. So before I go on, I think I'm going to just delete from those guys, and I'm going to redo it. You'll see what I'm going to do in a second. I'm making a prototype here, as they say. So that looks like it ends right here. So I'm going to go all the way up to our friend Barbasol. All right. Let's delete that and save it, and let's see what we get. Okay, good. Now we only have that one line. And the reason why, you'll see why I'm going to do that in a minute. Okay. Yeah. There's a couple of ways to do this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole thing here and I'm going to make it one fancy string. This whole line here. So I'm going to take this out like this. Let's see. And I'm going to make a printf. And you'll see why I'm going to do this. I'm going to open up this string here, and I'm going to close it here like this. Okay, and then I'm going to close that like that. So this whole thing now is in between these single quotes. So this whole thing is just a single quoted string. You'll see why I'm going to do this in a minute. So instead of printing out, now we're inside a printf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with the printf variables that are used. So this is going to be a string. So I'm going to use %s there. And then I'm going to put it in. That's going to be item 1. And then the next one, you'll notice that there's some percents here, and those are the escape characters. So I actually have to put a double % there to make sure that these things don't conflict with the printf. Now this is the quantity here, so it's number 2, so that's going to be a %d for an integer, and so that's going to be quantity 1, like that. I'm just doing one at a time here to make sure I get this right. And I do a double % there. Now this $sign can I want the $sign to print out, so I'm going to leave that there. What I do need to print out is the price, which is 1.23. So that's going to be another, that's going to be a float, right? A %f, but we want it to print out with only 2 decimal points. So we're going to let printf do all the rounding here. So I'm going to do 0.2f like that. And you should have seen that in one of the exercises. It shows you how to do that. That's a convenient thing. Here's another % that we need to escape. And here's another one. This is our extended price, right? So we want $1, and that's going to need another 0.2f. And then I'm done. So I have the first item 1, that's going to be this string. Quantity 1, that's going to be that integer. Then the next thing is going to be price, and that's supposed to be 2 decimals of a float, and it's already 2 decimals anyways, but just in case we'll make it like that. And then the next one is the extended price. It's another 2 decimals of there. Let's save that and let's run it and see if that works. There, everything looks great. Okay. Notice it looks exactly the same, but it's now using the variables and it's using printf. Just to test to make sure that it's actually using printf, you can put a little XXX there. Save it and run it, and see there's the XXX. Notice it didn't print inside the HTML table because it was outside the TR tag, like that. Alright, now the reason why I did this is because the next 4 lines are identical to this. So actually all I need to do is copy this like that and go 1, okay, and go here again Let's put some more space between that. I don't like that. I could put another print here. I could say, line for table row 1. I could put a little comment here and say like, row 1, item row 1. And this is just making things a little more easier. Item row 2. Easier to read, that's all. And I'm going to copy this again here with the space. And I'll go here. Actually, I'll copy here like this. Okay, and then I go back here. 1. So we have 3 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then we just change these one by one. You can see this is very redundant, so you'll learn later on that there's a much better way to do this using a loop, so you don't have to repeat things. So we item row 2, so this is just going to change to 2, 2, 2, and 2. Just for fun, it's good to see. You might as well take a look at what's going on. If I just run this, I would expect to see 2 different ones and then copies. See how it has Razor, Barbasol, and these are exact same copies. So that's all working good. We just need to make that row 3, and then 3, 3, 3, 3, and then this is 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then last is 5. This is the slowest part. 5, 5, 5, and 5. So save it. Testing. Okay, good. All looks beautiful. Now all we have to do is get these things to print out correctly, and that should be pretty easy. Those are all right over here. And so I just need to change the subtotal here to just print out PHP. Let's open up PHP. Notice again, we've closed PHP. We're back in just plain old HTML here, so we need to open it up again. And we're going to want to do a printf here, because this, again, we're going to want 0.2 decimals of a float for this is going to be subtotal. Okay, semicolon, and close that. Okay, once again, save it, run it, test it. Oh, see, I made a mistake. So it says 0.2f. What did I do wrong? I forgot to put the percent sign there. So let's save that now. Run it. There it is, 3689. Okay, again, I'm going to go over here for the tax rate. So instead of 2.12, we're just going to copy this thing here. Paste that there like that. Again, it's going to be not subtotal, but 0.2 of tax. And let's save that and run it. And there it is. And last, one more, is our total. And dollar total. Okay, good. And save it and run it. And there you have it. There's our invoice number 1. All done. You might want to go back and double check to make sure that you did everything that was asked for. There's a little checklist here you can look at. And that's all I have to say about it. So good luck. And if you didn't get it right, please go back and do it again. Obviously there's some variations of this that are also acceptable, and just because I did it this way doesn't mean you have to.